Okay, we're going to get started. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. We still have some folks that are signing in to the webinar. My name is Ellen Gregorio. I'm the Director of Graduate and International Admissions. And on behalf of the Graduate Admissions team and the College of Arts and Sciences, I want to welcome you to our program on Innovative, Accessible Approaches to Optimize Health Now, the Science and Practice. Tonight's webinar is sparked by the World Health Organization's Global Health Awareness Day, which is this Thursday. And in a time when pandemic has altered our spirit, mind, and body, and the way we approach our new reality, it's a perfect time to focus on bringing gratitude, mindfulness, movement, and service to our health and well-being. We invite you to engage with faculty and our graduate students in this trending topic and learn more about how the Health Sciences program prepares you for education and leadership careers in health-related fields. We also encourage you to participate by posting your questions and any answers in the Q&A section or the chat section. And then just a reminder, this program is being recorded and all participants will receive a follow-up email with the recorded link for future viewing. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Cristina Mortellaro, Assistant Professor and Chair of Biology and the Program Director for the Master of Science in Health Sciences.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this evening's presentation. We're excited to have you here to kick off Public Health Week. Our topic for Public Health Week this year is Public Health is Where You Are. And to bring us into that topic this week, we have Dr. Stephanie Bryan here with us. She is an adjunct professor of the Graduate Health Sciences. She's also an adjunct professor for the Health and Physical Education Department at St. Peter's University. Formerly, she was the associate professor and chair of that department. As an exercise physiologist, Dr. Bryan began her career as a fitness instructor when she was 18 years old, working in corporate and commercial fitness, while also owning her own yoga and fitness studio for 10 years. Her educational degrees include adult fitness, exercise science, and health science, and she has worked as a professor in higher education for 25 years. During that time, she developed the physical education program here at St. Peter's University, where she remains an active member of the faculty. Her numerous scholarly research publications include topics ranging from exercise adherence, health behavior management, yoga, mindfulness, meditation, biopsychosocial, spiritual approaches to health enhancement, and health equity, among many others. Most recently, Dr. Bryan published a children's book, New Day for Thank You, and she is on a mission to change behaviors through mindfulness so that people can sustain healthy living lifestyles. Welcome, Dr. Bryan.
Thank you, Dr. Mortellaro. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. I am excited to kick off Public Health Week. With this presentation, we'll be looking at scientifically supported approaches to improve health and well-being with simple, no-cost practices and behaviors. We will be approaching health from a biopsychosocial spiritual perspective, and this will take into account the all perspectives of a person. You may find that the practices and behaviors find some overlap, and that just further enhances the effects of well-being and health. But before I go any further, I'd like to introduce our graduate students. I have Courtney, who is with us tonight and will be speaking and sharing her thoughts and wisdom. Courtney works currently in as a teacher in a special needs school. The students there have autism, they have behavioral issues and multiple disabilities. I know that Courtney would like to work in the future in a children's hospital, caring for children who are living with cancer and their families. Courtney has an undergraduate degree in public health, and she is doing a stellar job as a graduate student in health science. And we also have Stephanie, who is another fantastic student of ours. Stephanie is currently working as an aide in a psychiatric hospital Stephanie will soon be applying to medical school, and she seeks to become a psychiatrist when she finishes her terminal degree. Stephanie has a real heart for serving the underserved and advancing health equity, and she and I share that, and it's a pleasure to work with her. So I'm going to just go ahead and share my screen. And let's see. Can you all see that? I'm not sure.
No.
Let's see. Let's try it again. There. How about that?
Yep.
There we go. Second time's the charm. So we're going to, again, look at innovative approaches to well-being. We're going to have four main areas: gratitude, mindfulness, service, and movement, and all of the ways that these simple areas can optimize health. We really highlighted these areas this evening because there are no cost practices that can be done within your own life and your own home. We're going to look at the science and practice of gratitude. Gratitude really refers to this concept of pausing and noticing things that we value and appreciate. In the scientific literature, gratitude is associated with increases in serotonin, which is a feel-good hormone, highly correlated with feelings of happiness and contentment. So although this is an activity that's done in your brain, it has a physiological response. It has a response that really enhances not only levels of happiness, but how your immune system functions. So the scientific literature has demonstrated that people who practice gratitude on a regular basis have improved immune function. Now, that's how, of course, we are able to stave off disease and virus and infection. So working on optimizing our immune system is an incredibly important behavior for health management. People who practice gratitude also are more resilient. So when they meet difficulties, they return to the baseline operating level much more quickly. They have more productive and positive social relationships, better sleep behaviors. They choose more productive health behaviors that impact many aspects of their well-being. So practicing gratitude is a rather powerful behavior. Conversely, if you are a person who practices gratitude regularly, the research has demonstrated that you have lower levels of things like anxiety and depression. And in fact, you even have lower levels of systemic inflammation. Inflammation throughout your body is highly correlated with the incidence of disease, for example, cardiovascular disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes. So it's a really important phenomenon to lower inflammation. And this practice of gratitude has demonstrated that effectively. The way that an adult might practice gratitude would be simply to create a gratitude journal, for example. So you might jot down 1 to 5 things that you found you appreciated throughout the day or you valued, and it's a training exercise in that you take the time to pause, notice, experience things for which you are grateful, and then you take another point in your day and you actually write down those things. People who use a gratitude journal have all kinds of healthy enhancing outcomes. So this is a really easy one for adults. And again, this is Public Health Week. We're very interested in the health and well-being of our children and our community. So we absolutely can add this to the life of a child. Children who practice gratitude do better in school, cognitively, with their grades. They're more optimistic. They engage in less risky behaviors. And in fact, they have more emotional intelligence. So this is a huge positive behavior, that a life skill that children can adopt. And how might they do that? Well, simply encouraging children to say thank you is a really basic one. The scientific literature tells us that the improvements in feel-good hormones, specifically serotonin, occurs to the person who says thank you and the person who receives the thank you. So it's a really productive way to experience gratitude and to start to express that. You can also establish a gratitude ritual with your child, such that they are tasked with finding a few things in a similar manner to what we would do with adults. Find a few things throughout their day as they maybe journey through school or after school activities that they enjoyed, that they appreciated, that they value. And then they bring those things home and they share them at a specific time, whether it's dinner time, bath time, bedtime. They know this is something that they're going to do, and they start to literally brain train. It's a brain training activity to find those items, to bring those items home, and then to share them. So it's a really easy way to incorporate a gratitude practice in the life of a child. So I don't know, how do you feel about this, Courtney? I know you work with children. What's your take on the gratitude?
Gratitude really has so many opportunities in the classrooms, and especially just kind of encouraging kids to practice kindness on a daily basis. I know personally it's been sort of transformative. If a person could do only one simple thing to increase their health and happiness, then expressing gratitude on a regular basis should definitely be it. There's a ton of research, as Dr. Bryan has mentioned, that the common denominator for happiness is gratitude. We really have to create a culture in schools and in workplaces to care about our minds just as much as we care about our bodies. We tend to think about health in a way of going to the gym, eating healthy foods, drinking a lot of water. But if we don't confront the negativity in our own thoughts and in our hearts, we will never truly be able to attain health and happiness. So actually in 2019, on my first day of graduate school, my dad was diagnosed with cancer, and he had a tennis ball sized tumor on his cerebellum, which was very challenging. So I withdrew from school to be home to help take care of him and to kind of be my mom and kind of co-support and caregive. So we went through a ton of immunotherapy, radiation, surgeries, and everything in between. So at the time, I was only about 24, and I really got stuck into this societal pressure of everyone around me. They were starting their families, they were starting their careers, they were starting to get married, and it just put a ton of pressure on me while my responsibilities were caring for my father. So I started to practice something called cognitive restructuring and benefit finding, which is now an integral part of my everyday lifestyle. So really this has to do with looking for the good in people and experiences, no matter how small it may be, which can make a tremendous difference in how we process hardships. Gratitude is really about changing our mindset to find the good in everyday life. And it's up for us to appreciate the little moments, because at the end of the day, they aren't so little. And we really do have such a big opportunity in schools to practice this at a young age, where instead of seeing things as a burden, we really practice finding the benefit in situations.
So beautiful. You are someone I appreciate, and I'm very grateful for. Every time we have class together, it's a pleasure. And I know you know this because I express it quite often. And thank you so much for sharing that really powerful commentary. How about you, Stephanie? What are your thoughts?
Actually, recently I purchased a 5-minute gratitude journal. So every morning, I'm a busy person. I have 2 jobs. I'm in school, studying for my MCAT. But I found that taking 5 minutes, like in the morning or even after I come home from my overnight shift, has really helped me put perspective in my day. Like working at the hospital, I see a lot of people who are sick and just sad things that go on throughout the hospital. So writing down what I'm grateful for really helps me keep my mood up, because like working at the hospital, you can have a low mood a lot of the times. It can really affect you and put a damper on just how you react and how you live your life. So I really try to do, the gratitude journal has really helped me a lot to see perspective and just realize that, yes, these people are going through stuff and I'm helping them, and that there's also good things in the world. So I think gratitude definitely, it's reduced my anxiety. It's just helped me become, I feel like, an overall more positive person in general.
Wow, I love that. I know you're all about integrating all the stuff that we talk about and study together. You've mentioned that to me a number of times in different topics, that we've gone over, and I love that. I mean, you are in action in real time, and it's inspiring to me, I have to tell you. So thank you for sharing that. All right, our next area is mindfulness. Now, this is a trendy word. We've all heard about it in some way in the media, but what we're going to talk about, what we're really referring to here is just being aware. Being mindful is being aware in the present moment. And the key to this is without judgment, without evaluation, without assessment, just being present and noticing what's going on, whether it's noticing what's going on around you, outside of you, or within your own body and your own feelings. And it can be a powerful addition to a number of practices. So we're going to look at just a couple here. The first is mindful eating. So what is mindful eating? It's literally being present to all of our responses and behaviors around eating. It's also called feeding in the nutrition literature and the scientific literature. So when and why do we eat or feed, and what is it that we're responding to? So some examples might be people feed when they're lonely, when they're anxious, when they're depressed, when they're bored. There are a lot of reasons why we humans involve ourselves with feeding that are other than cues of hunger. So people with high mindful eating scores, and this is something that you can measure, are not responsive to emotion and do not begin to add food as a response to their emotions. The other thing that you might think of with mindful eating is being present with the plate or the food, noticing the colors and the lovely smells and the texture of the food. So pausing, spending time appreciating the food, because food is wonderful and we're blessed with so many options, especially here in the United States. We have, most of us, an abundance of food, although not all. And so being a mindful eater is someone who can be really present with their responses to food, enjoy food, but then also people with a high mindful eating score respond to cues of satiation. We actually have some hormones that tell us when we're hungry and when we're full or satiated. And people who are mindful eaters are aware of the fact that they are satisfied and they need no further fueling. So that's really mindful eating. Mindful movement is similar, but you're aware of your body in space. So mindful movement might be something that you would utilize in, say, a gentle yoga class. If you were participating in a gentle yoga class and you were able to close your eyes and just connect with the sensations in your musculoskeletal system, maybe the tension in your back, maybe noticing your breath rhythms. Mindful movement is associated with people who have higher exercise self-efficacy. So they are more connected with their body. They're aware of their ability to carry out exercise as a matter of course in their life. And so therefore, they actually participate in more movement. So mindful movement is coming in through the body sensations, whereas mindful eating is very much an awareness in your mind. And the last area under mindfulness is mindfulness meditation. Harvard researchers tell us that 47% of the time our mind is wandering. And neuroscientist Richard Davidson explains that a wandering mind is an unhappy mind. People who participate in mindfulness meditation are able to quiet down and again become present and focus. That actually changes the structure and the function of your brain. It's associated with decreases in dementia. It helps as you age to maintain the neurons in your brain. And as people age, they lose some neurons. That we actually at St. Peter's did a mindfulness meditation research study, and we had college students participate in 8 weeks, twice a week for 30 minutes of mindfulness meditation. So they literally came into the room, they got into a comfortable position, they closed their eyes, it was dimly lit, they were led through 30 minutes of mindfulness meditation, and they left. So we didn't talk, there wasn't any teaching, and we compared their responses to a group of students who did not participate in mindfulness meditation. And the outcomes or the findings were really dramatic. The students reported better sleep, better feeding habits, more fruits and vegetables, more exercise, less reactivity, less anxiety, less anger. This is, these are college students at St. Peter's. So mindfulness meditation has a really powerful place in our well-being wheelhouse. Let's see. And Courtney, any thoughts on this?
Yes, so you really are hearing so much more about mindfulness, and there's no self-development without creating this sense of self-awareness. No matter how many books we read or how much knowledge we accumulate, if you aren't able to read yourself, you'll never really truly learn as much as you can, as much as you're capable of. Self-awareness is really about realizing there is no opponent, you're fighting against yourself. And throughout our daily living, we have so many micro stressors that tend to accumulate from the time we wake up, when our alarm goes off, to making the bed. Maybe our child is having a tantrum, and throughout the day, all these micro stressors add up. And what happens is we kind of hit a stress threshold where once we're at that point, without us even really realizing, we might not be able to control our emotions as well. We might be getting angry, our blood pressure might be increasing, we're less resilient. So it really is up to us to take control, to either find ways of managing the stress positively or understanding what we're feeling, so we could kind of try to find ways of kind of drawing attention away from the negativity. Even something as simple as when you're driving and you're in traffic, you're late for work. Most people don't realize how tightly they're gripping the steering wheel. And if you draw attention and awareness to that, you could kind of remind your body to just relax, ease your muscles. And one example of practicing mindfulness in the school that I work in is at South Bergen Stewardship Commission, which is a special needs school district. We partnered with Bergen Equestrian Center, and each week a different class in the school would attend a field trip to the equestrian center, where they learned about horse behavior, and the students were able to interact with horses by feeding them, grooming them, walking them. And the staff really noticed how much of a beneficial experience it was for these children. Most people with autism spectrum disorder, they have a hard time connecting to their peers, and it really interferes with socializing. So what we noticed was when they were interacting with these horses, there was just a sense of peace and comfort, and we knew we had to continue with the program. So we applied for a grant with Bergen Promise. And in the process of applying for the grant, we had to attain testimonies. So I just wanted to share one of the testimonies from one of the students' parents. She said, the student developed a deep connection with the horses. I've seen firsthand how it helped her emotionally, physically, and socially. It's helped her grow in so many ways. She relives the experience by looking at the pictures and shows anyone she gets the chance to. She was deeply touched. She had me buy her a horse calendar to remind her of the horses she met on her trip. We were all so touched by the experience. So this student buying the calendar and kind of reliving it and showing the pictures, what was happening was she was practicing mindfulness without even realizing that that was an act of being mindful, because she was reliving the moment by experiencing that calmness all over again. And if we really did teach more people to create an awareness that focuses on their feelings, I think the world would definitely be a healthier and better place.
Oh, that's just amazing. It's amazing to hear how astute that little student actually was. She was present with the feelings such that she wanted to recreate it and repeat it. And that's it. She was aware and she wanted to move on it. I mean, there's some scientists that talk about what we feel affects what we think, and what we think affects what we do. This is Albert Bandura from years ago, a social psychologist. Think about that. What we feel affects what we think. So that informed her. What she felt it, and then she thought it, and then she acted on it by, you know, asking for the calendar and, you know, re-experiencing that. So that's just brilliant. I love that. How about you, Miss Stephanie?
I really like the idea of mindful eating, just being aware of taste and textures of food, because I feel like for me constantly, every time I eat, I'm watching TV or scrolling through Instagram or something. So I'm not really paying attention to what I'm eating, and that can cause me to overeat or just eat too fast, and then that causes other issues. So I really like the idea of kind of taking a step back, realizing what you're eating, taking a moment to take in what you're doing. Same thing for mindful movement. I feel like constantly I'm walking around and at the hospital, running around, going to patients' room. But if I really took a step back to what I'm doing, that can help just in general with body aches, I feel like. Because you're drawing more attention to the body, how you're moving. And that can help, because I constantly have back issues due to work and stuff like that. So if I'm more aware of how I'm moving, how I'm bending, what I'm doing, I think that can really help me with that. So I really like that idea. And mindful meditation is something that I've incorporated into my life. Last semester, we actually had an assignment, and I chose to pick an app, and I chose to pick the app Headspace. So I did a week on Headspace, just focused on mindful meditation. And what I really liked about it was the fact that it wasn't like I had to sit in a quiet room and try to shut off everything, because I live in a house with my parents and my sister. It's never quiet in this house. So I just like the idea of having not to like shut everything off. Kind of the meditation app emphasized taking your surroundings. If you hear a door shut, don't try to shut it out like it happens. Let things happen as they happen, which I really like. And I think that can be applied to life, because just in life, you can't always shut everything down. People are always moving. Even at my job, things don't shut down. And it's not like I can't just go into a room and just kind of shut down and be quiet. Like that just doesn't happen at my job. So I like the fact that it teaches you to kind of embrace the distractions. Because life is just full of distractions, and you're never going to be able to shut them out no matter how hard you try. So
Yeah.
I really enjoy that. And it's helping me just not be so bothered by just like little stuff that happens in my life. Like, oh, my dog is barking. Like, he's just going to bark. He's a dog. Like, that's what happens. So I think it's important to take in the distractions, try not to shut everything out, because that's just not how life is. Everything's constantly moving around you. So I think it's best to kind of live in the moment and take in what happens.
Oh yeah, I love that. And I love that you were pleased with your meditation experience. There are, for our listeners or viewers, there are a number of free apps. Smiling Mind is one, UCLA Mindful is another, My Life Meditation is a third, and you can also access many meditations on YouTube. I use them in an undergraduate class that I teach, and the students just love it. And they often say to me, I don't understand why we didn't learn this earlier in our education, because they find that it's so beneficial. So I appreciate you sharing all that. So here's just an overview of some of the benefits that we did go over. And again, you know, mindful eating, celebrating the fact that we have plenty of food and that it's nutrient dense and that it keeps us well, and it's almost in some ways a form of medicine, is a lovely thing. So the being aware of our feeding cues and appreciating our feeding experiences is a fantastic idea. Again, mindful movement helps us to be more efficacious, to feel that we can execute these things. And then mindfulness meditation literally changes the way that your brain functions. So it has big results in neuroplasticity, changes the way that your brain fires. information. And I love the idea of going into a quiet place and just taking a few moments and allowing your body and mind to rest through that. So our next topic is service. This concept of service is literally reaching outside of ourselves in order to benefit others. It for sure has a very high feel-good hormone response and reduces cortisol, which is a stress hormone. So serotonin is elevated. Once again, it's the happiness, contentment hormone. And we're more likely to also experience a rise in oxytocin, which is another feel-good hormone, if we incorporate service in a community and with others. So being able to give and serve is something that's associated with people who live to 100 years old. The epidemiological research looks at centenarians and tries to understand what their behaviors are, and what they have found as these people live a life, they call it a life of inconvenience. They have a purpose-filled life in which they do things for others. There was one story of a 100-year-old man who would walk to town, purchase the food for the evening meal, walk home and serve it. So it's highly correlated with a longer life, and optimizes, once again, the hormones that are associated with all kinds of positive health effects. Another interesting item is they find people who use the words I and me repeatedly are the people who will more likely suffer from a heart attack than those who serve others. This concept of service is considered a pro-social behavior. It's a behavior that benefits others, and it matters because it has a big effect on our well-being. So it improves our social relationships. Once again, the health science epidemiological data tells us that emotionally intimate relationships make us well. We don't need 15 of them, but we are better off with at least 3. And currently with the pandemic and the isolation and just the culture, the average number of emotionally intimate relationships is reducing. And this is a big problem. Loneliness, people who are lonely are much more likely to die than people who are connected to others. Social relationships affect our feel-good hormones, our health behaviors, our stress management. So pro-social behavior is a huge item. And of course, it can help children as well as adults. I mean, what are some of the things that we can do in this concept of pro-social behavior? It can be as simple as, and service is just sharing kindness or compassion, being gracious, being forgiving. It can actually be an action like smiling or expressing gratitude, opening a door for someone, letting a car go ahead of you. I don't know if anyone noticed, but wearing masks and being isolated, there was a real absence of the exchanges of smiles. I know in our classes together, ladies, we do a lot of, kind, compassion, smiling. I should pay you to come to class because it always makes me feel better. The sessions that we have together, the exchanges that we are able to have with one another, and that it's not a surprise that it raises the feel-good hormones and promotes optimal health. Obviously, other things that you can do, cleaning up a neighborhood, working with the elderly. Animal care is huge in the health science literature. People who have dogs live longer, have lower blood pressure, have better body mass index, meaning they're not overweight. So there's a high correlation with animal care and service and well-being. Any comments on that, Courtney?
Yeah, so kindness and really service can be practiced anytime, anywhere, even just from letting people go before you in traffic. But there's a concept of when we ask kids what they want to be when they're older, we should really be shifting the focus to what types of problems do you want to fix? So in our school, we decided to launch a new initiative. It's called Find a Way to Make a Difference Week,
Wow.
where each week the kids are going to be participating in different activities to focus on what they think what problems need some more attention. So maybe somebody's interested in doing work with a dog rescue or starting up a food drive within the school. We're going to kind of put the focus on the kids to see kind of like performing a community health assessment within the school, but from a kid's perspective. And then all week, we're going to work on planning these different activities for the kids to launch their own way to find a way to make a difference. So we're really trying to teach these kids selflessness. And of course, that kids need role models. And I also think there's such an impact on when kids kind of shadow and mirror that image on each other and really feeling good when they are doing something for a bigger cause outside of themselves. And I know a lot of families typically focus on the culture of giving rather than taking around the holidays, but it's just now so important as we are all so divided politically, socially with COVID and all the after effects, to find a way to come together and service not just ourselves, each other, but the community outside of ourselves. And there's this idea of social contagion. So we want to teach kids and even adults, it's never too late to practice, that when we surround ourselves with loyalty, ambition, kindness, optimism, and empathy, that's definitely what we become because we are who we surround ourselves with. So we want to make sure we're creating an identity that focuses on giving rather than taking.
Fantastic. I love that. I love that. How about you, Miss Stephanie?
Just at my job, I find that just walking into because usually I have to draw blood for the patients at 4 a.m. in the morning. So just walking into the room and saying, "Hi, how are you? Good morning. How are you doing?" Like just basic questions, really just influence how they react to you. Because even this morning I went to a woman's room to draw her blood, and I asked her questions about her day. How was your sleep, all this stuff. And she really took to me and I was able to do her blood really quick. We had a conversation and I know that made her feel better because just being in the hospital, it's hard to kind of see the good in something. And it made me feel better that I was able to influence, like just have her day start off right. So that it made me feel better. Because just that whole shift was just, I was running around like crazy and I took time to kind of step back and just be nice to the person, ask, basic questions. How are you doing? How was your day? And I think it really helped push me through the rest of my shift. Even at my other job, as well as at the psych hospital, a lot of the patients, a lot of their autonomy gets taken away. Like they can't brush their teeth without help. They can only have one outfit in their room. So it's just a lot of stuff that gets taken away, and they're so grateful to you when you take them to wash their face, take them to brush their hair. So just like little things. And everything I do at work, it doesn't take a lot of effort at all. It's very easy, very simple, and it helps both of us. Increases my mood, and then they get something they want, something that they generally would be able to do if they weren't in the hospital. So it kind of gives them some autonomy back, which really is nice to see. And it's nice to see how they react to it.
I love that, Stephanie. You bring up such a good point. Volunteering is as good for the person that's doing the work or the volunteering, neurochemically, health-wise improvement, as it is for the person who is receiving it. It's well documented, the response neurochemically, hormonally, inflammation wise, optimism, mood elevation, all of that is as positive for the person who's doing. In fact, it's been a big coping behavior of mine my entire life. I picked up on that really early, that I put that tool in my tool belt, and I've used it for the duration of my life. So you make such a good point there. I love that. Thank you. We're just going to wrap up here, and our final point is movement. Not a surprise. The American College of Sports Medicine recommends that we do 30 minutes of moderate intensity movement on most, if not all, days of the week. And that can be daunting for people who are previously sedentary, meaning they don't do any movement. There's no walking, there's no dancing, there's no biking. So I can say that a person can just start by moving maybe 10 minutes in any mode or fashion that suits them. Literally, you could put music on in the family room and dance around for 10 minutes. You could walk out your door around the block and come back. And that could be a practice that you institute, and then eventually either add a second 10-minute bout of activity later in the day, or start to increase the duration of movement. There's so much health-related information on the benefits of movement. It has an impact on cardiovascular disease, cancer, mental health issues, diabetes, obesity. I mean, it's endless. Children, if you'll notice, are very happy to move, and they'll expend all of their energy, and they're delighted to do so. So we just want to kind of highlight that. It's well known, but it doesn't have to be stressful. It doesn't have to be monumental amounts of movement. It just is a really easy feel-good hormone responder, and it can be instituted, very simply into someone's life. And here's just some ideas of things that you can do. And if you do it in conjunction with others, then you get the feel-good hormones that are released from that social contact. If you're able to laugh or smile while moving, the feel-good hormones, you get all of them: dopamine, endorphins, serotonin, oxytocin. So it's really kind of a brilliant way to practice improvements in health and well-being. And of course, it's free. It can be in the living room. It can be in, out on the street, as long as it's safe, that sort of thing. But Dr. Mortellaro, are we ready to move on here?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Well, you want to take the stage?
Sure. Let's see if I can get my slides up here. Okay, can we see that?
Beautiful.
Okay. So you might be wondering what mindfulness, gratitude, movement has to do with our program in health sciences. And we started off our time together this evening saying that we picked this topic in light of Public Health Week, but also as we continue to experience the effects of this pandemic. Now more than ever, the interconnectedness of our health, our economy, our political climate, our socioeconomic disparities, we can see clearly that they all play an essential role in health and well-being of ourselves and of society. The psychological, the social, the environmental impacts on our health are ever changing and are ever influenced by decisions both in and outside of our control. So throughout a graduate program in health sciences like ours at St. Peter's, you'll experience courses that are essential for understanding population health, as well as the reasons individuals make both healthy and unhealthy choices, the factors outside of a person's control that can influence his or her own health, all to focus on addressing a public health problem or to improve health outcomes. And so to do that, when we study health sciences, we study it from a broad interdisciplinary approach that encompasses both the natural sciences, the behavioral sciences as they both relate to human health, as well as in-depth social, economic, and political perspectives of health and healthcare delivery so that we can concentrate specifically on a health problem and those health outcomes. This way, as leaders and educators, we can have a powerful impact on healthcare and on society. So our graduate program in health sciences highlights this interprofessional education to allow students across broad academic and professional backgrounds, as you heard from Stephanie and Courtney this evening. This way, we were able to explore healthcare issues from multiple points of view. And while there's so many different factors that influence the decisions we make for our own health and that leaders make to influence the health of communities, it's absolutely imperative that our health science leaders and educators work collaboratively to care for the whole person in order to improve health outcomes overall. And this program will serve to prepare diverse leaders in addressing these types of complex issues that affect today's dynamic healthcare environments. And our students will have the opportunity to do this, particularly in their, we try to make it the final course of their academic journey with us. And in this capstone course, we have 3 major components so that students can really refine these skills. First, they'll publish in our own health sciences journal written by the students. Our first edition from this year will cover underserved populations in the United States and the impact on health, well-being, and health equity. The populations would include, but aren't limited to, populations of immigrants, racial and ethnic groups, homeless, special needs populations, people living below the poverty line, among others. And we've also built in a service component to this capstone experience so that each of our students has the opportunity to identify, participate in, and report on a service project. And finally, they'll also explore some grant writing. As you heard Courtney mention, that she had to do this early on in her professional career. The students are going to practice grant writing and development so that they are prepared to secure funding for any work that they do once they graduate. Okay. Ellen?
Thank you, Dr. Mortellaro. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to wrap this all up. Give me one moment. Okay, so I appreciate the presentation by Dr. Bryan, Courtney, and Stephanie, and Dr. Mortellaro for bringing it all together. And I want to talk a little bit about the graduate program from an admissions perspective, why St. Peter's, and some of the admissions requirements. So you get the full scope of the program this evening. So one of the advantages of the Master of Science in Health Sciences is it's 100% online. You have the option of taking the health education or leadership track. Either way, it's a total of 36 credits with a cost of $695 per credit. So Dr. Mortellaro talked about this a little bit, but why a graduate program in health sciences? So really it's ideal for anyone who wants to pursue or advance their career in leadership and education in the health industry. So if you're looking to educate health professional students, conduct research, or obtain a leadership position, this program is really designed to meet your career goals. And some of the ideal candidates that we look at are those that are already working in a health-related field or in the health field, and students who have backgrounds in either biology, biochemistry, psychology, for example, who wish to develop specialized skills and, again, leadership roles in the health-related field. So these are some of the career paths or titles. The Master of Science in Health Sciences provides a real diverse career options for you from the traditional healthcare settings that we all know, such as hospitals and nursing homes, to others such as schools, such as Courtney works in, and nonprofit organizations. So some sample titles are a patient educator, a community health organizer, and a patient access coordinator. So why St. Peter's University? Well, again, it's 100% online, so there's flexible scheduling involved. There are several entry or start terms on a trimester basis, so you can start fall, winter, spring, or summer and pretty much finish up the program possibly within 15 to 18 months. We also have expert faculty who offer real life experiences like Dr. Bryan and Dr. Mortellaro. We also offer, smaller class sizes, which allows for individualized program experiences. And we are a Jesuit institution, so we follow the Jesuit values and commitment of Cura Personalis, which is the personal care and concern of each student. And finally, we have SEAL, which is the Center for Engagement and Experiential Learning. And this staff will help you with career advising, will help you through the job search and interview preparation, and have a multitude of employer partnerships that will help you through the job search process, or just for networking opportunities. So here are some of the admission requirements for the Master of Science in Health Sciences. We ask that you complete a graduate application. You submit official transcripts with a minimum 3.0 GPA. You submit a personal statement reflecting why you're interested in the health sciences program, a resume, and 2 letters of recommendation. So a commonly asked question is, how do I fund my graduate education? So if you are employed, you can speak with your employer for any tuition remission. There is an opportunity for federal loan. You can complete the FAFSA. That is, the eligibility is for full-time students. Part-time students can receive private loans, as well as full-time students who want to supplement a federal loan. So we do encourage you in any event to set up an appointment with a financial aid counselor to discuss the options that are available for you. And then here's some of the frequently asked questions we get. So there's no application fee for St. Peter's University. There are no standardized test scores that are required. So for example, no GRE or GMATs. And although we don't have any application deadlines, we do review applications on a rolling basis. We do encourage you to gather all your documents and submit those in a timely manner so that we can provide you with a decision within 2 weeks of the time you submit all of your documents. And then again, lastly, although we don't offer any institutional grants or scholarships, we do encourage you to complete the FAFSA and then meet with a financial aid coordinator. I don't know if you have any questions. You can certainly put them in the chat or the Q&A section. But to learn more about the health sciences program, you can contact us at gradadmit@stpeters.edu, or you can go on to our St. Peter's website. The website is located right there to learn more about the health sciences and more information about the curriculum and the courses and so forth. And if you're so inclined to apply, you can go on to the St. Peter's website and click on the Apply Now button. So that is all we have for today. I don't see any questions in the chat or Q&A.
Right. I think we're going to probably give some of the books away, right?
Yep. Yes.
So, we have some recipients for the children's book.
We do. Do you want to talk about the book for just a moment?
No, not really. It's a lovely little book. You can get it Barnes and Noble or Walmart or lots of places if you Google it. But it is a day in the life of a little person practicing gratitude. And I'm excited to give some of those books away tonight. I think you have probably the people to whom we'll be sending them. So I'm excited about doing that.
Yes. So actually, we have a couple folks that we're going to give them away to, and those folks we'll get those mailed out and I'm going by their sign in, so they're not full names, but we have Andy M, Lex, Miguel, P. Bryan, and Naya Jaha Harris. Nahija, thank you. I apologize, Nahija, for not pronouncing it.
Nahija is one of our graduate students. Yay, we're going to send Nahija. Fantastic. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, and Miguel too. He's one of our undergraduate students. Fantastic. Thanks for joining us, Miguel.
Yes, fabulous. We appreciate everyone joining us tonight, and a special thanks to Dr. Bryan, Courtney, and Stephanie for providing some very insightful information. I know I had a couple of key takeaways of how I'm going to implement mindfulness, service, and gratitude in my everyday life, and I'm sure the others that attended did as well. So thank you again so much. Thanks again for everyone for joining us, and have a great evening.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks, ladies.